Hey everyone, welcome back to the studio. Today I have a fun project, something that could be made as gifts, something that you could sell in your booth, small little items. One of the things that I do is I have a booth at craft shows and as well as selling online. But something I've learned over the years with a craft show is you need the big items to draw people in from a distance. So I have like my quilts out there and stuff like that. You need your staple items. So I have, a lot of my sewing stuff like the bowl cozies and stuff like that. But you also need small, inexpensive items, little, couple bucks sort of thing. Those really help with the expense of renting the booth. A lot of people come through and maybe they don't have a lot of money, but they want to help out, or they're just looking for a little, trinkets kind of thing. So keychains or whatever. So today we are going to make a variety of bookmarkers. I have wood ones here that I am going to engrave or paint, do some different things. And then I also picked up some silicone molds. There's 3 different ones in here. And we're going to make a variety of different resin ones with different things in them, like fabric, paper, and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so out here on the table I have all the different stuff, and I might find a few things along the way. I don't know. But these are the wood ones. They're pretty thin. I think it's about 1/16 of an inch. So these should look pretty cool on the laser. I can do different words, do pictures, or just paint them up and stuff like that. So we're going to play with those a little bit today. And in here is the resin stuff. So I'll go ahead and get this open. Like I said, it came with 3 different molds. So this one here is really thin. I mean, it's about as wide as my pinky. And there's 5 of them on it, and it does have the little nubbies for the holes. This one here has the rounded ends. They're about 1 inch wide. Again, the little nubby and stuff. And this one is the same width, but it is the square ends. Okay. And it also came with some tassels to go with it. And I did pick up some more tassels to go with all the different ones. And I'm going to do some with beads and, just a mix and match to show you different varieties of stuff that you can do. So one of the things that I am going to put in is, if you watch my other video, you've seen the flowers. These are the resin flowers. I'm going to add some of these to it. And I have some fabric out here that I'm going to put in some of them to see how they turn out. And I'll probably grab another fabric. Not sure. Like I said, mix and match, see what I can come up with. And then I have some scrapbooking paper that I thought would be fun to do. And different varieties of that, and I have more. So I want to see how the paper turns out. And a whole bunch of other stuff. So the thickness on these ones, 3/16 maybe? I don't think it's quite 1/4 of an inch. But yeah, they should be thick enough to be solid, but thin enough to slip into a book quite easily. So, there's our stuff. Let's go ahead and see how many different varieties we can do up, shall we? Alright, so I have some paper cut out, and these ended up being 5 inches tall by 1 1/8 inches. And as far as the little hole, I'm going to just use a hole punch to punch in the hole. So the cool thing about using the scrapbooking so the cool thing about using the scrapbook paper is they are double-sided. So it's going to be really cool looking. Now as far as these ones, I'm just going to put these two together like that for the map one. Alright, so I have some buttons that I'm going to try on one. And then for another one, I have these little charms. And they're different musical instruments and stuff. So I thought these would be fun to put in. You know, something like that. So this one is ready to go. Alright, so I've mixed up about 3 ounces of resin. Each one is going to hold about a ½ ounce. So that'll give me plenty to work with. It's like 0.6 of an ounce. And how I figured that out is I just took the measurements of it, went online, used a calculator, volume calculator, and did it from there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start with the paper ones. I'm just going to get these set up and ready to go so that there's no issues. So I'm just going to pour some in the bottom. Let it spread out a little bit. Help it along, get it up in the corners, get it up and around the post. Like that. And then I'm going to pop the air bubbles. And now we're just going to lay in the papers. Kind of tap them down so that we have no air bubbles. Like that. Okay, so if I want to do a double one, how this is going to work out. While that one sinks, add in my other ones. Now I'm not pushing them all the way down to the bottom, but I am getting them a little bit in the resin, so not to trap bubbles on the edges. That's the idea. And then lay this on top. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to add just a little bit more resin on top to fill it up completely. And those are nice and filled. Okay, so those ones are done and ready to go. I have a little bit more in here, so I'm going to go ahead and add this to this one. And this one is the fabric. So the idea with this is the same as the paper, but fabric does like to trap air. So if you decide to do the fabric method, just be cautious on that. Okay. Resin's been sitting a while, so there's no bubbles in it. Push it down in there. Yeah, fabric's a little bit more tricky. Okay. Get the other one on top. Alright, I gotta mix up some more resin, and I'm gonna add a little bit more to that one and move on to the next. So I will be right back. Okay, so for the next one, buttons, these charms, they are going to sink. So I'm just going to place them in and pour the resin in. Do it from a high distance, small stream, so it has time to soak around the buttons. Kind of like that. And in the holes. And fill it up all the way. And I'm just going to let that one sit, and I'm going to do the same with the charms. Okay, and while I'm at it, I'm going to add in the first layer for the flowers, so that can start spreading around. Okay, so as far as the charms, because there's a lot of nooks and crannies, and like the guitar is flat, I'm just going to pick them up, kind of allow the resin to coat all over them, kind of like that. Make sure they're where I want them to be. And there you have it. Buttons, you can do the same thing, because they do like to suction themselves down. Pick them up, shift them around, allow the resin to get all the way around them. I have a lot of working time with this resin, so I can play with it. That's why I recommend it. Plus the bubbles are self-releasing, and it's super clear. And the pink one's actually floating. Okay, make sure they're not overlapped. Tap them back down. Okay. I'll pop the bubbles in a second. So we'll get this up and around, just like that. And then let's go ahead and pop some bubbles, shall we? So now we're going to go ahead and do the flowers. I already have one escaping. So like I said, if you didn't see the last video, I encourage you to go check it out. These flowers were sent from Resiners for a project, and I do have some left. So I'm going to play with them in this. So flowers are somewhat one facing, kind of, but the bookmarks are not. So I'm going to set it up to where it has different sides. I love those little bursts. Those are cool. Oop. Oh, that one just went straight in. I want you up there. And then we're going to do a green. So when it comes to the green, it's a bit wide. Pull off the bottom two. Save them because I can add them in. Okay. Kind of like that. I actually want this over top. I'm going to shove that one down a little. Get them completely in there, kind of like that. And we'll take a rosebud, throw it up in here on top. Let's see. Let's take this little guy. Right there. And let's go ahead and do this one. Like that. There we have it. Okay. So for this one, just going to finish it off. Now, something I did learn is a very, very fine drip to cover the top. Kind of like that, so not to push the flowers down, but to keep them in the middle of the layers so they don't float either. Like I said, you can check out the other video and see how I did that one. The coaster set turned out pretty cool with these. And yes, I still plan on doing the big platter. It'll actually happen here shortly. Get this filled all the way up, make sure everything's covered. And there we go. I think this one needs a little bit more, just like that. And it looks like the other ones are good. Alright, We have an escapee right there. Get in there. Get down there. There. Alright. There are those. I'm going to let those cure for the time being. Alright. Hit this with the heat gun and let it sit. Alright, now as far as the little skinny ones, I do have a plan for that, but I think it's going to be a different video. For now, I just want to see what all of these turn out like. While we wait for the resin to cure, I'm going to go ahead and work on some laser bookmarks. I'm not going to go through and show you the whole programming it and designing it. It's rather boring because it's all computer stuff. But we have the first one set up and we were ready to go. So let's see how these turn out, shall we? Alright, they are completely dry. So let's see how they turned out. So there's that one. So the paper did float a little bit up on some of the corners. But that's okay. I will go through and sand down the edges, give it a little bit of a beveled edge on all sides, and have to sand down, do a little contouring on the whole. Yeah. So the paper worked out great in these. I do like it. See how the double one turned out. You can see the separation. There you go. But that one's neat. Now they are stiff, which is good. So the experiment I'm going to do next with these is try to make it so it's not stiff and a little bit more pliable. I'm going to see how these turned out. So first up, the fabric. So that looks good. So the same issue with the paper is, yeah, it's a little bit, it's not straight in there. I mean, if you did like a half pour, let it go solid, and then put it in, it might work out better. But these are so thin, I didn't want to bother with that. I think they turned out fine. I think it looks pretty cool. And let's see the buttons. So we did get one bubble late. Two. But that's okay. So the buttons are cool. And the charms. Come on. Charms are cool looking too. I like that. And the flowers. Okay, the flower one is really neat. But these flowers are really cool to begin with. I enjoyed the other project with them. Alright, time to get these cleaned up and get some little tassels or whatnots on the top of them. And I'll show you what they look like in the end. And there we have it. So, first off, you have these ones, which the silicone molds, these here, came with some tassels, and I also picked up some more. So just some bookmark tassels, and there is tons and tons of different colors in here. So a huge variety. I can't remember exactly how many's in here. Was it 100 pieces? So lots of different ones, and they're really nice looking. They're kind of shiny and silky. So these ones are really nice. I'll have a link for this in the description if you want to get that, and same with the silicone molds, because these turned out really cool. And like I said, I have a future project idea for these ones of making flexible resin, so we'll be playing with that later. And then the wood ones, so these turned out really cool. Tassels fit on them nicely. This one, just simple design. They can write in here. I see I did like Time for an Adventure with a little dragon, you know, stuff like that. There is a few that I did like book specific. The Wizard of Oz, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and obviously Alice's Ventures. And then a few other ones where I combined it. So different ideas that you can do with this. If you are going to do quotes or book titles, make sure that they are public domain at this point. These ones are. I did make sure of that. Especially if you're going to be selling them. If you're going to give them as gifts, it's a different, you know, different thing. But if you're going to sell them and make money, make sure they're public domain. Books are my superpower, you know. Just a bunch of little ideas for kids and whatnot. So yeah, these are fun. Other thing I did, some embroidery floss and beads, and I just did a simple twist design and hung some beads off of it. And then this one here I added some more charms to, which I thought were fun. So just a few ideas with that. You can do leather to finish them off with, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, if you're looking for something that is easy to do, quick, you can sell them, you know, inexpensively, just little filler items. Bookmarks are the way to go, and there's a few different ways of doing this. So yeah, you can print out, you know, encyclopedia, you know, entries and stuff like that. Put them in the resin. You can engrave them in here. You know, some words and a few different definitions, that kind of thing. So yeah, lots of fun ideas. And like I said before, having something that is quick, easy to make, you know, small, doesn't take up a lot of room, but will add, you know, a few bucks here and there. You know, especially for like kids that may be shopping, you know, they may be interested in something like this, or, you know, people that want to pick up something but don't have a lot of money, especially, you know, right now. Something like this would actually be really fun and potentially profitable. You know, you can definitely make enough money off of these to pay for your booth expenses, depending on how much your booth is. But it definitely offsets some costs there. So yeah, if you like this, let me know in the comments. If you want to see more small little ideas, let me know in the comments below. What would you put in the resin? How would you decorate them? Let me know. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification so you can see other videos I come out with for, you know, different things to make, different ideas and different experiments. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments what you would like to see next. And until then, stay creative.